Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to the KTAL News Now Digital Streaming Center. So today the focus is on the severe weather that is coming through the ArkLaTex. And for all the information that you need to know in regards to this storm, I brought in Josh Marcis, our morning meteorologist. Hey, Josh, how are you doing this morning?
All right, we're just kind of in sit and wait mode, waiting for these storms to go, but we're pretty confident we'll see some weather later today for sure.
All right, now let's get the people ready on what they can expect, what areas are going to be impacted, and what is the severity of the storms coming through the area.
I know everybody always asks, hey, what time is it going to hit my town? What time is the storm going to be to where I am? And the setup is such today that we could see a couple of rounds of storms popping up. But you'll notice that the outlook for us today, we're kind of in that red bullseye area, and that's a level 4 moderate risk for severe storms. So basically, the storms that are out there, they don't know that this outlook exists. So they're not looking at the outlook and saying, hey, I'm going to pop up in these areas. What that outlook tells us is just that the ingredients for severe weather today are off the charts, and significant severe weather at that. So in addition to all of the severe weather threats today, we could see kind of an enhanced severe weather risk. So what that means, typically we'll get those weak tornadoes here in the ArkLaTex, but a day like today, the tornadoes that we see, maybe those kind of long track, stronger tornadoes that may be on the ground for more than 45 minutes to an hour or so. And we could begin to see that tornado threat by early this afternoon, but wanted to say that with both rounds of storms, we could see that tornado potential. And the most guaranteed round of storms will be the one that comes in with a cold front tonight. So the thinking right now is that we'll begin to see those cold front associated storms probably between 6 p.m. and maybe 2 a.m. in the morning. So folks in Oklahoma and Texas, just after sunset is when the cold front will come in. But I do think those areas, especially Oklahoma and Texas, will be dealing with some afternoon storms as well. So the threat for those locations early afternoon, again, tornadoes as well as hail. And then once that cold front comes in tonight, initially we'll see a bit of a hail and tornado threat, but we should see this gradually turn into a damaging wind threat overnight tonight. And that's the other issue, is that we do expect tonight that we're going to see these wide swaths where we could see winds up to 70 or 80 miles per hour. And if you think of winds of that strength, it is kind of like a weak tornado. So typically, talk more about that in just a moment. But on a day like today, when we get those 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, especially after sunset tonight, it is not the worst idea if you get a severe thunderstorm warning for your location tonight to maybe shelter in that safe place as well. You just want to stay away from windows and doors because we could get a lot of debris, a lot of trees knocked down, a lot of tree limbs that can get blown through the air. So again, with all warnings today, just make sure you go to that safe place. And obviously we can talk about that a little bit later.
No, that was perfect. I just wanted to move into that right now, actually, because I know there is an emphasis. Even just about a week ago, we heard from the National Weather Service in regards to preparedness and the important things in regards to individuals who live in mobile homes and how they need to react in regards to when they get those notifications on tornado warnings. Can you give us a little update in regards to that and why that is there's such a big emphasis on individuals who live in mobile homes?
Last year, 2022, I believe we had 4 weather-related fatalities in the ArkLaTex, and they were all in mobile homes. And again, it is the worst place to be during severe weather, is either in a mobile home or a car. And so the directive is, if you get a tornado warning and you live in a mobile home, it's actually safer to run outside into the storm, lay stomach down in a ditch or ravine, and cover your head. And I mean, that is not an acceptable way at all to, ride out a storm. So you can understand why people shelter in the mobile homes. But on a day like today, we still have several hours until these storms start popping up. So if you have a neighbor, if you have a relative, if you have a friend nearby that has, a site-built home that's anchored to the ground, that would be what you need to do tonight to ride out those storms. Because if we do see injuries, fatalities, most likely they would either be on the roadways in a vehicle or in a mobile home. And on a day like today, when the wind gusts could be 70 to 80 miles per hour, it's not going to take a tornado today to flip the mobile homes over. That wind easily gets under the mobile homes because they're not anchored to the ground. So we urge everybody to just kind of go find a safer shelter today. And that's one of the things we really don't talk about. We've done a really poor job, I guess, our governments locally, and they'll admit that we don't have a lot of storm shelters. A lot of communities in Oklahoma have storm shelters that open up during severe weather, and we just don't have that in the ArkLaTex. So, whether you have to turn to a hotel room or talk to your friends and neighbors, or if you have family nearby, just explore all those avenues that you can today. When those storms come through later today, you definitely don't want to be in a mobile home at any point. It's possible those storms will go in some areas until midnight or 2 a.m. So I'll just make plans to stay somewhere else tonight if you do live in a mobile home.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting when you say that it's best to like run out if you're in a mobile home, run out and lay flat on your stomach. I remember seeing a video on social media recently of a couple doing that, and it stunned me. It took me back. I was like, wow, is that really the best, case scenario, like the best choice?
Yeah, because if you're in a mobile home and get a tornado or a thunderstorm with 70-mile-an-hour winds, I mean, there's a high likelihood that home or RV is going to get flipped over. And if it gets flipped over when you're inside, that's obviously when you're going to see a lot of the injuries. So, I mean, if you're able to get outside, get low in a ditch, you actually have a better chance of, being uninjured or surviving that scenario than actually being in an actual mobile home. And it's pretty sobering to think about. So.
And then, so, for those individuals, how you said, who live in those homes that are, more grounded, and have that base, that structure base to the ground, best case scenario, we've talked about this before, but where they should go would be, a room without windows,
Yeah.
right?
And so if you live in a two-story home, you always want to get to the lowest level, because if you're elevated in a second floor, typically the debris is higher in the air. So, when we see severe weather and see homes get damaged, you'll see trees through roofs and things like that. That's why you want to get out of the second floor. So you want to go to the lowest level of your building. So if you're in an apartment complex and your downstairs neighbors, ask them if you can borrow their shelter as well. You really don't want to be elevated on a second or third floor. So if you're at home, just look around today. Typically in your house, you have maybe a bathroom that's in the middle of the home, a hallway, and the whole idea is to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible in case you do get tree limbs that are flying through the air at 100 miles an hour. Those can easily pierce walls. So if you have more walls you have between you and the outside, better. And if you already do have a storm shelter identified, it might be that bathroom or a closet. If you have kids that play football, they have football helmets, or if you have bike helmets laying around, it's actually a pretty good idea just to put those helmets in your safe place today. That way, if you do get a tornado warning, when you go into your safe place later today or tonight to ride out the storm, you can actually, put the bike helmet on, the football helmet on, in case there is, structural failure, or if there is some debris, your chances of, getting through the storm unscathed, all opportunities that you can take. Some people just grab bed pillows or pillows off the couch and will lay down in the bathtub and kind of hold those pillows over their heads. So.
Hey, definitely a lot of good tips right there, because, when you're going to that safe space, you definitely are rushing and just trying to, get all the things that you can. So when you're thinking about going to that safe space, definitely think of some things of cushion, some things of protection for your head. Those are all really great tips. So thank you, Josh. And so we kind of talked a little bit about the severity of this, and some of the areas. Is there any other important aspects of this weather coming through? I know they said it's kind of almost like a 1-2 punch. We're seeing it in two different forms. What can you tell us about that?
Thing today is we don't know if that first round, so if we do see a first round of storms, it will probably be between noon and 4 p.m. The forecast models that update every hour, now that we're getting closer to the afternoon, they're really suggesting that yes, we are going to see maybe a handful of storms. So the storms that pop up in that afternoon window, they're not going to be widespread. They're not going to affect everybody, but the areas that do see those afternoon storms, and I think that's kind of close to maybe I-30, either in Texas, Oklahoma, or Arkansas. If we do see that afternoon round of storms, those storms could be very strong today, but more likely I think the guarantee for severe weather will be with the cold front coming in tonight, and we'll see that big kind of squall line of storms develop, and that's when we expect to see mainly a wind and hail threat, but there will likely be some tornadoes embedded within that line of thunderstorms tonight. So each individual round, both rounds, could feature tornadoes, wind, and hail, but I think with that first round, tornadoes and hail would be the biggest issue, and with that later round with the cold front, I think widespread damaging wind will be the most likely thing. So it is, it's possible tonight you'll lose power. There may be some trees that are knocked down in the neighborhood as well. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at with those wind gusts later tonight.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, some of those things that people can expect with the large hail. I think you may have gone through this, but maybe we can reiterate a little bit about the strength of those possible tornadoes that can come through, and some of those wind gusts. Can you go in depth a little bit about that?
For sure. And today we could see strong tornadoes. So we talk about tornadoes in the ArkLaTex. We usually get EF0, EF1 tornadoes. They are still tornadoes and they still cause damage, but it's kind of at the weak end of the scale. But today we get those EF2, EF3 tornadoes where the winds are over 120 miles per hour. And the danger today is that we could see those long track tornadoes. So those, we get a lot of tornadoes that are on the ground for just a few minutes and then they go away. Today's one of those days we could see a tornado on the ground for 45 minutes. It could be an hour. So, those long track tornadoes definitely a threat for us today. Typical severe hail would be about the size of a quarter. And today we could see the hailstones maybe up to golf ball or even egg size, which is about 2 inches in diameter. So every level of severe weather today, there's just a little extra oomph, I guess, to the storm. So the tornadoes could be stronger today, the hailstones could be bigger, and the winds could be stronger. And that's one of the things that makes today so dangerous.
I think also what's been interesting to hear from you is in regards to how long it can stay on the ground and the strength of that. Already hearing the wind gusts that it has, and then how it won't be just like a quick touchdown. It's going to stick there for a while. So definitely got to be prepared for all the things that can come with that. And you can stay prepared by downloading the Severe Weather, your Weather Authority app. Download that and get those push notifications so that you can stay weather ready. We are always updating you guys in regards to when those tornado watches and warnings are coming. So just make sure you're really watching that so that you can make those exit plans accordingly to when you receive those notifications. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add, Josh?
I would add with the hail threat tonight, if you have a carport or garage and you typically park in the driveway or the front yard, make sure the car is under some protection tonight, because we'll see the kind of hail that will cause some damage to your vehicle and maybe your roof as well. But if you can get your vehicle covered, you'll thank yourself tomorrow if you get some hail. So if you have any kind of structure that you can park your car under later tonight for those storms, make sure you do it.
Absolutely. And you can also stay up to date right here on ktalnews.com, as well as downloading the KTAL News Now app. We will be going live throughout the day as these storms make their way. So you can catch Josh and Todd live with their cut-ins and giving you the up-to-the-minute details in regards to these storms making their way through the ArkLaTex. I think that's all we have for you guys so far this morning, just to prepare you guys ahead of the storms coming. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section and we'll be sure to get them. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you guys stay safe for sure. Thank you.